Hi, and welcome to the War Bunker. Hello. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about getting into Warhammer 40,000. We've got a few bits and pieces here to talk through. So first of all, I guess the biggest question is why? Why should you get into Warhammer 40? Why should you even think about wanting to?
Because it's awesome.
It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of aspects to the game, and different elements attract different people. Obviously, the fundamental part of it is
playing
the game. Warhammer 40,000 is a game where you'll have two sides, and a lot of things get decided by these little things, and a lot of people blame these little things. It's essentially a bit like Monopoly on a cross between Monopoly and chess, isn't it? But yeah,
I would say it's more chess than Monopoly, but there you
go.
But
there's the random element that you get from Monopoly. You see, yeah, see, But it is also, sadly, an expensive hobby as well. And we're going to talk you through some of this about getting started. As you can see, there's all kinds of great stuff you can get. I know we're quite mild compared to some people, but I've got friends who have bought everything that you could imagine. So let's talk you through some of the basics. So there's a rule book which tells you actually how to play the game. This is quite an old version now, and these days we tend to get them mainly from digital versions, which are on things like a Kindle. If you can get the paper ones and they're not too expensive, they're great to have. They've got this great artwork that really it's not just about the rules, but they really help to take you into the world, because it's a whole universe. In a nutshell, really. Oh, see, look at this. I mean, how cool is that? Somehow that doesn't come across when you look at it on a PDF on your Kindle, does it?
No.
We still miss it. It's a lot cheaper though to buy it on Kindle over in New Zealand because of the way things are. I mean, look, the artwork's just really amazing. And now I'm looking through this and going, maybe we should have got the latest edition in book format.
Yeah.
But then, a lot of the artwork doesn't change from edition to edition. Yeah. But it basically breaks down the rules of how to play it. And also includes how to kind of like get started in the hobby, start painting some of the models, which is really handy. Hey, look at this, assembling your models, which is really useful when you're quite new to it. Warhammer 40,000 in a nutshell. Basically, the universe has gone a bit nuts.
You could say that. Yeah,
mankind is everywhere in the far future, but its position in the universe is far from assured. About 10,000 years ago, a guy called the Emperor basically managed to put together a gigantic empire, and he was kind of like
the god.
Yeah, he's like a cross between Alexander the Great and the Dalai Lama, really, isn't he? He's considered one of the most awesome members of history. And unfortunately, there was a civil war against him, and
good old Horus.
What's called the Horus Heresy, and he didn't do too well. And ever since, he's been kind of stuck on. He basically was virtually killed, and ever since he's been like stuck on a throne, and he just a shell of him remaining. Meanwhile, you have forces like the Orcs, the Eldar, Tau, all of which have their own little backstories that are all threats to humanity. And all these factions are constantly at war. Not too great if you live in that kind of world, but it's great, obviously, for wargaming purposes, because there's constant war, and there's on a number of planets throughout the galaxy.
Basically, the Imperium went from like having very good technology to like the medieval times.
There's a bit throughout it. There's talk about there being an age before the Empire where they had their own thinking machines and they turned on them. So they're very distrustful of technology.
And that's why they hate the Tau.
Yeah. So this book really gets you started. The rule book is kind of a must, yeah, but not everyone really needs one, do they?
No, I think if you're starting out, I think really your codex is more important than your rule book, especially if you're playing with someone who's been playing the hobby, because they'll already have the rule book. But as a new player, I think personally you would want codex more than your rule book.
As a team, basically, a few of us clubbed together to get a copy of this, and we kind of like shared it between us all because it was expensive even then, and we didn't really need more than one copy between us.
Yeah.
So kind of clubbing up with friends is kind of a useful way to get started. Finding a friend that's already, because if you're keen on starting, usually there's someone out there that already has some of the books. Yeah. And what they're desperate for is people to join in with them, and they might even have an army that they can basically let you play with. Yeah, a lot of rules are around that though. Be very careful about other people's armies because it's, as you will learn, it takes a lot of hours to do it. So treat with absolute care. This for example is a codex, and what a codex is, and these are quite old. Codex explains about how an army works, and what we're going to do is we're going to, at a later video, talk a little bit about things, and we'll bring out some of our armies that we've collected, and we'll talk about things you might want to think about when collecting. But right now, if you're just getting into it, it's way too early to even think about
to buying a model.
Well, think about collecting a particular model until you've really. What you need to do is you need to read about the different armies, and you can find a lot on Wikipedia to help you, and find the army that really kind of suits you.
More awesome artwork.
More awesome artwork. A great place to start is actually to try a hobby centre. Most places have got someone near you, and they're very good at trying to encourage you and introduce you to the hobby. Things like painting and assembling as well. So that's a great start. And these things can be quite useful as well. So you might want to consider buying some of the magazines that they produce. This one is Warhammer Visions, and it kind of gives you a breakdown on what's. In some ways, these are glorified catalogues, yeah, but they're great for giving you a breakdown on what's out there. And we particularly use it to give us ideas for painting, for looking at things. And don't worry, don't feel too intimidated if your painting doesn't start out quite this good. Another great thing to remember is, unfortunately, there's a lot of people, as many people as joining the hobby, there's usually quite a few people that are leaving the hobby as well. So a great place to look is places like eBay. And over here we've got a version in New Zealand called TradeMe. So this week, for instance, we were browsing TradeMe and somebody was selling a small Eldar army. Now, if any of you remember the intro, I have issues with Eldar. Going back to first edition, because they were rather cool.
Someone still has a grudge even now.
And I have been reading the latest Eldar edition and going, oh my god, these...
He really likes it.
They're really awesome. They're really awesome. Now, because when you buy a brand new box like this, they can be fairly expensive. Unfortunately, especially in New Zealand, where we pay a bit of a markup, just because we're in New Zealand, unfortunately. We've seen prices go almost double in the 5 years we've been here.
Just be honest, it's more like triple now.
No, it's double. Originally, the starter sets tend to be quite good. Over here, they're about $200, and that gives you parts of 2 armies to build. But TradeMe is quite good. So this is way more than we'd have been able to purchase. So this costs us about 120 New Zealand dollars. And what we managed to get from it About 20 Guardians.
6 Scorpions, 7 Fire Dragons, 1 Farseer, 1
special units,
1 heavy weapon, 3 Eldar bikes. I think that's a Viper, and that's either a Falcon or a...
Yeah, that's a Falcon. That's a Falcon.
Yeah, it's a Falcon.
You can tell we're a bit new to that, but that's a good sized army to actually be starting playing with. Some of our unit armies we've collected quite a lot more, a substantial lot more than that, to give us more options for when we're choosing an army. Half the fun is actually choosing. That's a great way to get a bit more bang for your buck. Unfortunately it does, is you're limited to what somebody's selling.
Yeah.
Often there's newer units that are missing, and sometimes those figures aren't the latest figures. And I have to admit, I have to be blunt and say that the newer figures have got really, every 3 or 4 years, the figures and what the detailing they put on it does get a little better. But they are still very, very good figures and quite playable. And to be honest, anyone would we've seen people that feel quite old figures, and people go, "Oh my god, that's awesome! I remember this one." As you get exposed to some of my Space Marines, you'll see I have some real vintage pieces in there. But even here, the universe doesn't end, because there's also a huge amount of books out there as well, all about the universe. You can see that some people just get really kind of sucked into the whole world. So that was a great book that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, Shadow Sun was real good, and it was short and sweet.
Yeah,
which was nice.
A fun book. This Firecast, that one I started reading. It's supposed to be about the Tau, but it's about the Tau, but really seen through the Imperial Guard.
There's also another one called Commissar. That's a really good one. I'm reading that now.
Yeah, it's an amazing immersive universe. A brutal universe.
Well, it's got to have its ways, doesn't it?
But
I just remembered I put that down there.
That's the latest Imperial Guard. They're now called the Astra Militarum. But it's a great hobby. And basically we're giving you a few options here to try and get into it a little easier.
You don't want to go all in. You want to just tip the surface and then see if you like it, and then dive in. Yeah.
And clubs as well. We've mentioned stores, but we haven't mentioned club. Usually there's a club nearby. We've got Wellington Warlords here, which has got a huge history and a great club.
Yeah.
They ran a 750 point tournament. Was it September or October?
September.
Yeah. And it was absolutely some of the best playmanship I've ever seen. It was so good. And but before that, we lived in Farnborough, and the Farnborough War Games Club was just amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
Because for many of their games, you didn't even need to bring your own army. So usually somebody would bring an army for you, and it was just like...
I remember our first game there, Cowboys
and Indians. Cowboy and Indian war game. Yeah. And it was crazy, mad, but a lot of fun. We're still trying to recreate some of that, and we still need to. Still need it, because that was
so crazy.
It was.
That was a good game as well.
We'll do it. We'll eventually recreate that.
Indeed.
But that tends to be the best kind of game. The best kind of games where you're not looking at the rules. Every time you're stopping play to resort to the rule book, that's almost a fail, isn't it? Because you need to refer to it occasionally, and obviously there are little tables in here, for instance, that tell you, I think I've got a copy of them somewhere. Oh look, here. There are a few tables. You get to know these tables, or you do what we do. You copy them out, so you don't have to refer to the rule book in detail.
Yeah.
And it makes life a lot easier, and it makes the gameplay a lot easier. They used to have quick reference guides kind of standard with the rule books, or you could just download them from Games Workshop. They don't seem to do that quite as much anymore, which is a shame because they were a godsend for just kind of like looking up. That is a thick rule book, yeah. But once you know all the details about how things are doing, you just need summarise to just needing these few tables, yeah. Yeah, cool. Anyway, that's us for this week. This is us signing off.
Join the Tau.